Think we better get a move on. It being 5 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time, we're going to have to do this sort of international timing thing because we've got people joined from all corners for this year's Carbon Literacy Action Day World Tour webinar. So thank you very, very much for joining us. I'm Phil Corbell, as it says. I'm co-founder of the project and its director of external relations. And yeah, fantastic to have you with us. I think, well, I know this is going to be an extremely informative and hopefully inspiring 90 minutes. So stand by and we'll get a move on now. Let's do some housekeeping first, if we might just have a look at that. Great. So, you will not have your camera or mic on. And we would like your interaction, however, via chat. So you will be hearing from some people involved in the Carbon Literacy Action Day, but please do let us know how it's going for you via the chat function. Also, we are recording this for future use. Let's find out who's involved in putting this together, if we may. So, yep, you know who the first guy is. Then you're going to hear, you'll also be hearing from the other co-founder. That's Dave. He's our MD. And you'll also be seeing Natalia, who will be doing some interviews. Grace and Fraz are going to be doing some updates. And behind the scenes, we've got Annabelle, Razvan, and Fiona making it all happen behind the scenes. This is the theme. Connect, collaborate, cascade. And how important is that now? We're all climate people involved in climate action. And anyone with their eyes open knows how, let's say, fraught that is. As broadly, there are still some really scary things happening in terms of the climate. I don't need to go into that. And obviously, the political winds uh, on many sides of the Atlantic are not particularly good. So, I mean, we have our eyes open, but we are driven, are we not? We're fueled by our vocation to create a safe future for the people and the places that we love. And for me, part of what makes that happen is simply action and the stories of that action, possibly more persuasive even than the science and the other rationale behind climate action. But these stories of action, the action that creates the stories, that's our renewable fuel. And if, like me, you feel that, that's where connecting that action up, enabling people involved in the action to collaborate is just absolutely vital. And when I'm talking to people, I think I use the word cascade in virtually every conversation because what we do is so inspiring. It transmits and these cascades start to happen. So that's the theme of what we're going to be talking about. And just remembering that every bit of greenhouse gas we keep out of the atmosphere lessens the chance of harm to those around us. That's why we're doing what we're doing. And this event crystallizes the power of what we're doing here. We're going to have a look now at what's been going on with carbon literacy more deeply, and we're going to be joined by our MD and co-founder, Dave Coleman.
Uh, Thank you very much, Phil. Razvan, if we can go back just one slide for me, just for a moment, so that would be good. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where it is that you're joining us from. My name's Dave Coleman, and as Phil has introduced me, Phil and I co-founded the project together, and I'm the project's managing director. I'm going to hazard a guess that if you're on this call and you're watching this webinar, at some point you'll have been sat there on your own in a room, slogging away with something, whether it's a document, a training course, trying to wrangle a group of people together, sort out a room, bring people together to do something about climate change, and felt a bit alone. Because I think probably all of us at some point have felt a bit alone fighting this battle to do with dealing with climate change. I certainly have from time to time. One of the reasons that we run CLAD and one of the reasons that we're running this event is to show that sometimes, although we feel very alone, we aren't. There's loads of us out there. There are many of us. Um, some of them all around the world, some of them very close to you in your locality, in your neighborhood, in your organization, in your parish, in your region, in your country. All of us together are working for this same agenda where we're trying to deal with climate change and give everybody better options and a better life. And that was why we chose as the theme for this year's Carbon Literacy Action Day, connect, collaborate, and cascade. So in a little while, you're going to hear all sorts of examples of the work that you have been doing and the work that others have been doing so that you can see, you know what, none of us are alone. We are all working on this all together. And one of the reasons for doing this is to make that absolutely manifest to us all and to be inspired by the amazing work that so many people are doing. But in the meantime, we thought we'd share a couple of headlines as just what the project itself has been doing in the last 12 months since the last CLAD. So next slide, please, Razvan. So many of you will be aware that we produce toolkits. So we produce resources to help people in a particular place or a particular sector deliver carbon literacy more efficiently and come together with others to do so. So during this year, although we already had quite a range of toolkits available, we introduced a new one for schools for the very first time, with lots of educational materials available, but not directly for schools, for colleges, universities, and for others. Our first toolkit for schools is aimed not at pupils, but at the adults working in schools. Because unless the school itself operates in a carbon literate way, we can be saying one thing to children, but if we're behaving as adults in a very different way, it undermines that message. So the first toolkit we've produced for schools is for adults working in schools, both educators and those people working in and around schools, so that those schools start to become carbon literate as educational places in themselves. But we are very close to releasing more material, much more widely, actually for pupils at various ages throughout schools. So there'll be a lot more development of that schools toolkit, which launched this year. You may well be aware that we have a toolkit for the automotive sector, which was sponsored by Auto Trader, a huge tech platform in the UK that is the go-to place to exchange, buy and sell vehicles within the UK. Auto Trader is a huge digital tech firm, and having seen the success of greening the automotive industry with their carbon literacy toolkit working with us, they came back and sponsored us once again to produce a digital and tech sector toolkit, which we've launched this year, and are now working with a whole range of IT, digital and tech sector organizations to help them green their sector and follow the lead made within the automotive sector by Auto Trader. So that was another big strategic launch of a toolkit into a sector for us this year. And we had a toolkit which launched for the faith sector. And this one was sponsored, if that's quite the right word, by the Church of England, because they wanted to see carbon literate parishes throughout the UK and far beyond. You'll be aware that the Church of England extends far beyond the borders of the UK. But it's not all about people who belong to that one church. Other Christian churches can also access that toolkit, and people of any faith can pick up this toolkit because it's a toolkit not for Christians, but for people of faith wherever they are within the world. So, three more toolkits to help us come together, to connect us, to help us collaborate and cascade. Next slide, please, Razan. So another place that we connect with each other is within our organizations, and many of you will be aware that we have a carbon literate organization accreditation that we offer at four levels: bronze, silver, gold, platinum. And this year it was the sixth Carbon Literate Organization Awards, some photographs of which you can now see before you. You can see happy people celebrating their awards. Um, Organizations offer us opportunities to work with people very close to us in the organizations in which we operate and work to help them become carbon literate and green our organizations from the inside out. Another place where we can connect, collaborate, and more. And you're going to hear a lot more from at least one of the people in those photographs, but I'm not going to steal thunder from something we're going to do shortly. Next slide, please, Razvan. So we talked about all of this connecting. So how better to connect than in a place, in a locality? We talk a lot within the project about where working where we live, work and study. So just before our CLAD last year, we launched a new initiative and a new accreditation called Carbon Literate Localities. And it was to bring together people that lived, worked, or studied in a geographical place for all of them to work together and collaborate to deal with climate change in that place through the vehicle of carbon literacy. And the very first initiative to dive in and say, yep, yep, we want to work towards this accreditation was the city of Manchester, the whole city, led by its city council. Now, to be fair, we started here in Manchester. That's where many of us are based. It's the home of the project. So Manchester as a city did get a decade's worth of head start on everyone else. But at this time last year, there were 10,592 people who were carbon literate within the city of Manchester. This year, we just went past the first anniversary of this. And in that 1 year period, that 10,000 people has grown to 20,980. So we've added 10,000 people who are carbon literate now within the city of Manchester. So the city now has 20,000 people and it has a target of 85,000 people in order to achieve carbon literate locality standard. But we have 2 to 3 years to do that. But actually, if you think about it, 10,000 to 20,000 is like one person making one other person carbon literate. If everybody who's carbon literate in Manchester now finds one other person who makes them carbon literate, we'll be at 40,000. If those two people just find one other person each and make them carbon literate, that's 80,000. And we're there and we've done it. And it's no more complicated than that, but it makes manifest this power to cascade action on climate through quite a simple tool, but by connecting up with the people around us. Next slide, please, Razvan. So what does that look like in terms of total numbers? This is the blue infographic that many of you will be very familiar with. And this was a custom version that we created this morning with the very latest numbers. So currently, 144,000 people globally are now carbon literate. We have almost 1,000 trainers have certified as facilitators, trainers, or consultants, and have that qualification to assist with the carbon literacy of others. We have 962 courses. Think of those as 962 mini carbon literacy projects for different audiences in different places, bringing different groups of people together with customized materials, but all consistent with the carbon literacy standard, with consistent science, outcomes, and actions. We now work with over 13,000 organizations. There are 338 organizations that are carbon literate. We work in 47 nations, 16 sectors in depth with 11 different toolkits. But to some extent, so what? Why are those numbers significant? They're only significant because of the 289,000 actions to deal with climate change that those people who've become carbon literate have pledged or taken. And we only count the very first two actions that people pledge as part of their training. But using a metric that we worked out based on a sample of 10,000 learners who became carbon literate, we know that the carbon impact of that is more than, much more than, in truth we know, but more than 500,000 tons of carbon saved by all of those thousands of people who've already become carbon literate. And we're only counting the first two actions and what they go on to do with their carbon literacy. We haven't even tried to measure yet. So the numbers, I would argue, are reasonably impressive, but only because of the impact it has in addressing climate change and giving people better lives. Phil has already touched on the fact there are headwinds at the moment that we would all recognise. Some of them are economic, some of them are political in different places in the world. Next slide, please, Razvan. So you might be wondering, what impact is that having on the growth of carbon literacy? And so far, that's what the growth of carbon literacy looks like. It started out very flat when we first started because we started with a blank sheet of paper and moved on from there. But we've been on this exponential growth curve since 2022, and it shows no signs of stopping. So all of the work that you have done historically is represented somewhere on that curve. We add an extra point to it every month with our statistics and our numbers. And what does that look like in reality? Next slide, please, Razvan. It looks a little like this globally. This is not a list of the companies, the countries rather, in which we operate. Uh, that's a list and a map of the countries that are involved today in CLAD and that have run specific pieces of training as part of our Carbon Literacy Action Day. Um, Genuinely all over the world, which is why I gave you that global greeting at the very beginning. And we're now going to move on to hear a little bit more about many of those initiatives, and we'd love to showcase them all. We can only do a small sample, but we hope that the projects that we've chosen will be both interesting and inspirational and give you even more inspiration in the work that you've done. As you'll be aware, we're a charity and we have to fund all of our work throughout the year and all the work that sits behind CLAD throughout the year from external sources. And we couldn't do that without very generous donors and generous sponsors. So before we go any further, we'd just like to spend a few minutes watching a very short video about this year's headline sponsor for Carbon Literacy Action Day. without whose funding we couldn't have done all the work we've done to support you thus far. And that headline sponsor is an organization called Zenith.
It wasn't something that I was aware of. It was something that had happened, that had taken place internally at Zenith, and you were looking to roll out to suppliers. So I was genuinely interested and pleased to take part. And even with the other delegates who I'd not met before, we all dived in, and then it was useful to hear other people's thoughts and opinions on effects of climate change and reducing CO2 emissions.
Minor life decisions, and you might think that putting the heating on for an hour extra in the morning makes no difference. It cost me a few extra quid, but actually when you add it up over the course of the year and the impact that that might have for the country and the globe, I guess, it's a massive, a minor change could make a very big difference.
It's prevalent in everything we see and do, especially in our industry and what we see. I think most news reports on the evening news, if we're lucky enough to catch them, have something about climate. But what you don't get from, national news is how individual actions can drive real environmental change. And I think the training encourages you to reflect on your own habits and have a think about where you can make a difference.
We have just invested in a full solar panel install on the dealership. So the main site itself has got a full roof install of solar panels now. So should put us in a position where we're generating our own electricity for the main site. We're all conscious that we need to be more sustainable in our day-to-day actions, but I do think that the learnings from the carbon literacy day has certainly helped focus efforts on what we can do to change our own impacts.
I went away and I looked into who our home energy provider was, and I also had a chat with the business internally. So the changes that I pledged to make, I switched to a renewable energy provider, and Norton Way were kind enough to support me in a change of my current company car, and I moved over to an electric vehicle. And then on the actual day, one of the modules was the carbon calculator, and based on my annual mileage and by switching to a renewable home energy provider, it estimated that by taking those changes, just me, I was able to save between 4 and 4.5 tons of CO2.
I guess what I took out of the session most was how it's not just the fossil fuel burning that has such a big impact. It's sort of the smaller decisions, the clothes you buy, I guess, there's more or less everything, everyday life decisions all slowly but surely add up to quite a large impact.
Fab. Hi everyone. So I'm Grace Henderson. I'm the Carbon Literacy Action Day coordinator here at the project, and I'm also our civil service coordinator. So there's a lot of names in the chat that I recognise, which is really exciting. Just want to reflect on that video from Zenith, and a massive thank you again to Zenith for sponsoring CLAD and making it happen, especially at the scale that it does. It's really brilliant to see some reflections from last year's Action Day and to learn more about how carbon literacy empowers people to make positive changes in their life, both personally and professionally. So yeah, absolutely loved seeing that. So I'm really excited as well to be here at the webinar. Some of you might recognise me from last year. This is my second year working on the campaign, and it's really great to see how much progress we've made over the last year, and I'm really looking forward to hearing more about what's been happening throughout the week. Yeah, it's great to see so much activity in the chat as well. if you've just joined, do send a message in the chat. Let us know where you're joining from. And if you took part in CLAD, feel free to let us know what you did and also how many people you trained. I can see a lot of people connecting already, which is great and exactly what CLAD is about. So for some live updates, these pictures are from Chichester District Council's training session on Monday. They delivered training to 40 local community members and their volunteers. We also had our CLAD regulars in Western Australia, Edith Cowan University, deliver training to the Western Australia Department of Water and Environmental Regulation and also the South Metro Health Service. Bernardo's charity sent some pictures earlier on today. They trained 7 of their staff through Virescent training. It's really great to see a sort of UK household name. Other organisations who we've had confirmation from about their plans. The Government of Jersey ran a Climate Youth Summit and trained around 400 pupils this week. And also Sheffield Hallam University trained around 90 learners. So we've reached around 550 CLAD learners confirmed already, which is absolutely incredible and really excited for our interviews now and looking forward to hearing a bit more. And we'll hear a bit more from Phil and Clinton, who will be joining us now. Next slide, please, Razvan.
Thank you so much. This is really exciting. I love the way that those names are just sort of tripping out, Bernardo's and you know, you know, we never quite get used to this, and that's really good. 400 young people trained in the Channel Islands in the course of this week. You know, I mean, it's just fantastic what's going on. And Eugene, you're telling us 51 MSc students out of University of Derby. Fantastic. More. So I'm really, really pleased, doubly pleased, as I'll explain in a moment, to be joined by Clinton from Kampala. Clinton, I have to say, are you there? This is the bit that we're sort of hoping will work. Yes, hello, Clinton. I'm doubly glad to see you because just this is the stuff behind the scenes. Clinton was there
Yes,
and then he wasn't. Power cut in Kampala. Wonderful.
yes. Amazing.
So
Amazing.
really, really glad to see you again, sir. Um, Clinton, tell us a little bit about Climate Hub International first.
It's quite an exciting moment for me again to appear on CLAD. Something different today. We are touring the entire world. Amazing. My name is Clinton Mawanda. I'm a bus driver. In other words, I serve at Climate Hub International, yeah, based in Uganda, and I look after other operating countries still in Africa. And it's been quite an amazing journey for me. Perhaps it's been an interesting journey from the time I became a carbon literacy facilitator. It's been a little bit creative process of transforming my expertise into engaging learning journeys. The fact that I'm a trainer, I'm a facilitator at one of the institute, but you know, it's a little bit involving storytelling, interactive elements and visual to solve learners' problems because people join carbon literacy classes with an issue, with a problem. You clearly see the pain point from the bottom of their heart. But let me just tell you, while structuring those logical paths that build skills, offer discussions, making learning active and impactful, not just for the sake of information, but clearly to demonstrate best practices and those good innovative ideas how to cut down the climate catastrophe. So for me, I get excited and I pick interest really to distribute knowledge, climate knowledge to my audience. Phil, that's good news for you.
It's amazing news, and we learn every day from our trainers and new courses, left, right, and center. But I've got to say that our relationship with you and learning about how this is working in East Africa, in the global South, has been informative but humbling as well, because we feel the change in weather here in our temperate climes in the UK. But I think there was a throwaway comment possibly in our first conversation, you know, and you go, you're going, man, this is serious. Yeah. And, we laugh, not crying. You had a climate disaster last week with terrible landslides. So how, I suppose what I'm saying is you are coming to this from an increased sense of urgency and impact. How does that actually affect your delivery of carbon literacy?
If you've been reading some of the tabloids back in my country, there's a lot of drought happening, floods happening because of poor planning. But nonetheless, the key interesting aspects in my first days during the induction of carbon literacy enrollment, when I started delivering this beautiful program, the audience connection has been clearly a very key aspect as a KPI. But understanding my audience is an ideal learner's pain points and designing content that directly addresses their needs and helps them achieve their goals. People join carbon literacy probably through word of mouth or with an idea. How do I bring in these other activities and job output, either in my workplace, either in an organization, probably even in my community? But we're driving on an individual execution. People now are picking interest how they're managing waste, how they can reduce on carbon dioxide, probably either from home or to your workplace. Now, let me tell you, storytelling lately, a narrative has played a good job for me. Weaving a compelling narrative through the climate frameworks, good job done, especially from the help of my colleagues like Georgina, using storytelling scenarios to make abstract concepts memorable and relatable with the climate catastrophes happening now, regardless, by the way. People understanding that it's not a global problem, that their personal individual initiatives, probably it will contribute to the net zero all over the country or globally.
So you got me up very early in the morning on Tuesday to help launch. It was a time difference thing, and for you, Clinton, no problem. But you had one hell of a group there, didn't you? So, we talk about these cascades and how we collaborate. Just who were some of the VIPs in the group on Tuesday and yesterday?
I had a beautiful audience. Most of the key players, especially in my home here. Um, we're so happy that the chairman of Uganda Manufacturers Association, the entire country, joined carbon literacy course for the 2 days from 8 to 5. 2 days. Can you imagine? We extended even the delivery hours. Okay. Then we had the commissioner from the office of the prime minister, Mr. Okello Patrick, office of the prime minister. You know what that means? That probably we are taking the program, the course to another stakeholders, those stakeholders with high levels of power, right? With key decision making. Philip, I like it when Nick Webb said that carbon literacy is a whistle-stop tour of climate change. I keep on following some of the blogs that are happening from group. But can I tell you something? Carbon literacy is a good program with multimodal learning programs, choosing the right mix of video that relates and delivers the message straight to the bottom of people's hearts, downloadable resources that normally Georgina shares with me as best practices, the tools to cater to different learning styles. Oh my God, it's been an amazing journey from the time I joined carbon literacy, Phil. And Dave.
Fantastic. Clinton, we're running out of time. I'm so sorry. What next for carbon literacy in Uganda and Climate Hub International?
Let me tell you something. Carbon literacy training, we had close to almost 28 candidates from the previous 2 days of delivering purely through word of mouth. Let me tell you something. We're happy that at the closing remarks last evening, we invited the chairman of Uganda Manufacturers Association. I noticed that his increased understanding and curiosity, personal actions, as well as asking everyone to advocate and create awareness for this particular program, it exhibited that we still have a chance. And guess what? We're closing this financial year, probably if all goes well, we've been accredited the first waste management course, the first solid waste management program in Africa. So I'm pretty sure that, and due to public demand, we've just started driving campaign for the waste management. Maybe Climate Hub is the first organization to get approved, the waste management course in Africa. Good news for you, Phil.
Watch this space and stay tuned. Clinton, I can't wait to speak to you again. All power to you. Thank you so much for joining us just now.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So from Kampala, we're going to go to an organization very well known to the British audience, that being BAFTA. So if we could hopefully now be joined by Daisy.
Hello.
Hi, Daisy. Really is always in these moments. It's the moments of transition. Are they there? No, great to see you. So a little bit of backstory. I'm a recovering broadcaster. And I used to do just radio, none of this telly stuff. But back in the early days of carbon literacy, BAFTA were one of our most amazing partnerships with the BBC, the people making Blue Peter, the people making Coronation Street work with you to devise courses around a footprint tool called Albert. And now BAFTA has evolved. Tell us a little bit about how BAFTA is driving the minimizing of footprints across broadcast and film.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've given me a great introduction there, and kind of setting out the foundation. So, we at BAFTA Albert, we're the leading screen industry organization for environmental sustainability in the UK. So we're a BAFTA owned and industry backed organization, and we work all across the screen industries, film, TV, and kind of beyond, to support productions and creatives reducing their environmental impacts of their productions, but also supporting and creating content that has a vision for a sustainable future. The stories that we tell are so powerful, and they can give us so much, and we're there to support that as well. So we're probably most famous for our carbon footprinting tool, as you mentioned. That's now mandated for productions across all of the UK major broadcasters. So if you're in the UK or if you watch any content from the UK, if you watch right to the end of the credits, there's a little badge that says Albert Certified Production. That means they've calculated their carbon footprint and they've done reduction around that. But we also offer all kinds of training. We do events, thought leadership, to just really like identify and act upon the opportunities that we have. So my work is kind of mostly in Albert Academy, which is kind of all the training that we do. We do loads of free workshops for industry, but we wanted to create something beyond that foundational knowledge everyone on set needs to kind of help people step up their sustainability understanding. And that's where our now sustainability champion course, accredited by the Carbon Literacy Project, kind of came in.
And so this is about creating those champions, as you say, on set. So every set has someone who's really clued up, who's carbon literate, can drive those changes on set. Is that that's the
Yeah.
idea, yeah?
Yeah, and beyond, we have
Mm,
suppliers, we have people from our education partnership. We have such a privilege in our industry of kind of touching everyone else. We have caterers and travel and
yeah,
construction. Like we have so much influence, and actually,
yeah.
if we're talking about cascading, as you have been today, we see that in all directions in what we do, and we need to take complete advantage of that.
How's the clad training gone?
So good. So good. We've done, it's actually, it really nicely coincides. We started running our sustainability champion training in November last year. So it kind of marks the year anniversary of us doing this kind of big, chunky training. We also today, with the people that we finished training up, have hit 100 people trained in the year, which I promise was not rigged. It just was very nicely
Yeah.
sat there. And in that, we've had commissioners, suppliers, production managers, people on the ground on set, and every different kind of perspective brings something new as well. And we've had comments, I mean, in the cohort we had today, talking about actually having those real world examples and seeing how someone that, in the work context people are working with but don't really understand the role of, having them in that session and learning from them with the kind of things
Learning
that
from
we're
each
talking about.
other,
Yeah,
that power of
exactly.
community in the room is
Yeah.
brilliant. That's really good to hear, Daisy. Briefly, what's next?
More, I think.
Okay, we'll
More,
go with
and
that.
we're
Yeah,
we're looking at kind of doing filling gaps that exist in industry, and we're really kind of putting a lot behind climate content at this point as well, and storytelling,
yeah,
because
yeah.
we inspire, we educate, we empower people, whether they're in our industry or not, and the power of storytelling is so important.
Oh,
Using that
yeah,
is so
yeah.
key.
So again, Albert very much involved in the footprint, but also the content. Look it up. There's some really, really good stuff going on there. Daisy, I wish we could speak longer. Sorry. In the way of live broadcast, we're out of time. In fact,
Thank
we're
you so
slightly
much.
overrunning. Thank you so much for joining us. Many of the people involved in being trained by BAFTA are in SMEs, which gives me my link to our next trainer, um, uh, Debbie. I'm hoping you're there from AG Impact.
Hi.
Fantastic. For some reason, we're getting a bit of feedback going on there, but we'll go with it.
Okay.
So, AG Impact, who are you? What do you do?
Yes, thank you. So my name is Debbie Thackeray and I am the Impact Director at AG Impact. So my role is essentially leading on the development of our impact services and programs, one of which is carbon literacy, as well as certifications and advocacy. And so who we are as a business, we're a woman-owned business. We focus on purpose-led communications and impact consulting. And we're really, really passionate about helping different business leaders from different sizes, but very much the SME space, bring their purpose to life. And we do that in kind of three typical ways. So one is around making sure they have really clear messaging in what they're trying to do, so people come on that journey with them. The second is that their actions create really measurable impact, which obviously carbon literacy is one piece of that puzzle. And then we really try and focus on helping them ensure that their people feel inspired around driving positive change, so that people and planet are very much at the forefront of their mindsets. So yeah, we have quite a simple mission, I guess, I believe, which is essentially supporting organizations on that journey towards creating meaningful impact.
SMEs are so important to us. Generally, a huge part of footprint, especially in supply chain, but often lacking capacity to pick up this sort of these skills, and that's where you fit in. How would you gauge the temperature for climate action amongst SMEs?
Yeah, it's a very interesting one because you're very right on that fact that there's limited capacity and resource to dive into some of this, and often the decisions that you might be making in an SME, you won't necessarily have somebody who's a technical expert, for example, understanding and grappling with this, or the capacity to collect all the data and be able to monitor and affect change. So for us, that's kind of one of the pieces that was really important for us as a fellow SME. So for context, we're 7 full-time employees, and then we have a collection of consultants that we collaborate with. And it was something that just was personally really important to us as we went through our growth journey. So I think there is definitely capacity, but it has to come into the purpose and intention of the organization, and it has to be something you drive actively. So with carbon literacy, for example, it's something that's we found has been really helpful to bring other people on that journey, as well as ourselves, to think through what are all the small things we could be doing and creating change around. And then as we go through our growth journey, how do we continuously think about that so that we're embedding it and building it into the culture of just who we are and what we do. And we've gone that one step further then of looking into certification. So we've got B Corp and EcoVadis, which also require a lot of conversation around being carbon literate and what our action plans are and how we take charge of the effect that we could be having.
So much to go into here. But how's your training gone? How's your CLAD training gone?
Yes, very good. It's we've been doing it this week. So I should probably caveat that I'm here on behalf of my colleague. She unfortunately experienced bereavement, so I'm going to try my best to do her justice. But yeah, she's been doing training this week, and it's been something that we're really proud of. We've had lots of different people from other SMEs or just people who are really passionate and want to drive it in their own organizations and kind of bring that knowledge back into their business. But I think what we've found really lovely actually is quite often the response we'll get from the participants that will join us is that like aha moment of, oh, okay, I didn't realize I had the ability to affect change here, and that I can step into this conversation. And it's something we've kind of brought internally as well of everyone in our business is carbon literate, and it's given permission and empowered people to be able to challenge maybe things that we could do better and could think about. So I think that's been the nicest moment for us on our programs, is watching that moment of ripple effect that we're creating and bringing them with us.
And I love the fact you've been able to talk about your growth as a company and the growth, the changes you're enabling outside. Debbie, power to your elbow. Thanks so much for joining us just now. That's great. And finally, in this section, we're going to actually talk to a couple of people who are involved in some very, very interesting sectors. So if we can go over now, I think that slide might need to just jump on. Thank you. And we're joined by Sandy and, with any luck, um, yeah, coming together. Why not? You're both. That's marvelous.
Hi.
Helen and Sandy. We only had one slide for each of you, but we're going to do it this way. So, lovely to meet you both. We'll start first though with Helen Bailey. Helen, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about the work of Driven?
Yeah, hi Phil, thanks for that. So I'm the founder of the Driven Company Associates, a consultancy working basically at the intersection of sustainability, strategy, and innovation across the mineral products and highway sector.
And those sectors obviously are high footprint in terms of what you're doing. I mean, how is climate getting into those sectors? How would you capture that?
Um, I think it's certainly getting in. I mean, nearly every company that I know of has set targets, ambitious ones at that. And I think what we're trying to do now is bridge that gap between sort of strategic direction and boots on the ground action. So the carbon literacy is really helping to do that, turn that awareness into action and drive everything forward. So I think from an industry perspective, we're doing a lot of good, and it's not often recognised. So really, it's what can we do to change the culture, the mindset, and the behaviour collaboratively, working
Yeah.
together to bring the climate science down to grassroots level.
And you know, these sectors are proper boots on the ground stuff, aren't they? They're digging big holes and big machines and stuff. So are the sorry, that's the most horrible generalization across some very sophisticated work. My apologies. But who are typical learners? Is it the head office or is it right the way through?
It's interesting as a consultancy that sits in the middle of everything, quite frankly. I sit with multiple hats on, as you well know, Phil. But I think really I've trained people at managing director level, right through to sort of managers from an operational perspective, looking after various depots. So it might be a materials producer, right through to a client dealing with asset management from a highways perspective. So yeah, we're kind of going all the way through end to end, because what we've tried to do with our program specifically is map it against PAS 2080 and make it sector specific to make sure that it aligns with carbon reduction in infrastructure generally.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And finally, I think you're competing with each other about the best dressed interviewees. Just
I
explain what's
wouldn't
happening
probably make this
after
much effort, but there's an awards
for us.
evening this evening. So, well, yeah, obviously it's for you, Phil, but no, we're hot putting it off to an awards event with the Chartered Institute of Highways and Transportation this evening.
And you're
So I'm
shortlisted?
actually on the shortlisted. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Very, very best of luck with that.
Thank
It's
you.
great. Sandy, if we can introduce you. Sandy, tell us about your role and the Institute of Asphalt Technology a bit.
Yes, thanks, Phil. I'm Sandy Sykes. I am the Executive Director of the Institute of Asphalt Technology, which is the professional body for individuals working in the asphalt industry. So our mission is to advance knowledge, professionalism, and best practice from design and production to sustainability and innovation.
Now, I'm going to show my ignorance again. It's a trait. I'm sorry. I think asphalt roads that's not it, just it, is it? I mean, it's
No,
everywhere. Yeah.
it is everywhere. So our members range they're from the full value chain of the sector. So from local authorities to contractors to material producers, researchers, consultants. So there's a whole draft of people
Yeah.
that we support professionally.
And the drivers for climate action in your sector, how would you summarize those, Sandy?
That's a very tough one. It's a huge issue for us. As an organisation, we're trying to champion professionals to develop their understanding of carbon. And I think that's the main challenge for us, is that these companies don't understand that even the smallest change can make the biggest impact. So we wanted to walk the walk and show them by doing this training, that there are things you could do, and we can apply it to our sector and explore how to embed it across our membership.
And I think you've really hit the nail on the head there. Carbon literacy is so much about saying, right, you've got an existing skill set, a job.
Mm.
Here's this climate thing. How do you join that up? How do you apply your best skills and motivation to the task? Which brings me to the training. How's it gone?
Oh, it was wonderful. So
You sort of have
to
to
be
say that. Should we just
no, but
pretend how
it actually was. It was wonderful. It opened my eyes, to be honest.
Thanks.
It I could see that there was a clear, reliable framework for understanding the science behind the carbon. And it actually showed the scale of the challenge, which I don't think many people are aware of. But it also gave actions that individuals can take, organisations can take, and it just stood out to me how accessible it was. And it was more practical day-to-day realities that I could take away from it.
Which again, there's music to my ears as well. Practical action relevance. So fantastic. I'm entirely unsurprised, obviously, that it's gone well. So thank you so much. And the future, can you see more take up for this? You've got members of the leadership from those three institutes. Just to go over that
Yes,
again, that was
yes.
Institute of Quarrying and Highways
Highway
Techno
engineer.
Highway Engineers. Thank you. So
So yes, we collaborated with two, sorry, carry on. We collaborated with two other institutes, the Institute of Quarry and the Institute of Highway Engineers. So Helen came to us, obviously, as she's the president of the IAT, and said, we should do this training at council members. And then we thought we would collaborate with the other institutes, and it worked really, really well. So now, for me, I'm committed to now trying to roll this out to our membership and making sure that we can empower and change professionals to lead with confidence and share their knowledge and drive measurable carbon reduction across projects and organizations.
fantastic. That's a really good place to leave it. Um, Helen, hey, good luck. What can I say this
Thank
evening?
you.
Sandy, thanks so much for the support and the enthusiasm, and we look forward to supporting you as things go forward with your institute and the others as well. So I look forward to hearing
Brilliant.
more. That's really good to hear.
Thanks, Phil.
Thanks very
Um,
much, Phil.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to go over to find out what's going on in terms of the numbers and update some spotlights from Fraz.
Okay, thanks, Phil. Hi everyone, I'm Fraz. I'm a project officer here at the Carbon Literacy Project, mostly helping the CLAD team out with events and administrative tasks. So if any of you have been in touch with the CLAD team via email in the past few months, there's a good chance that you've already heard from me. But it's lovely to have the chance to talk to you properly this evening as well. Now, I'm sure everyone will agree that the work highlighted by our speakers so far has been incredibly inspiring, and we have had even more great work being shared with us as we've been talking as well. So on the slide here, we have some pictures from NHS Supply Chain's training session. NHS Supply Chain have already trained around 10% of their staff since beginning their carbon literacy journey 10 months ago, and they have delivered training to 11 members of staff as part of CLAD this year, focusing on connections between climate change and healthcare. We've also had confirmation that Transport for Greater Manchester have trained 25 members of staff. Every Turn Mental Health have trained 12 people, and Barnsley College have delivered training to a very impressive 450 pupils in their sixth form. So we now have 1,071 CLAD learners confirmed already. So a huge well done to everyone that I've mentioned there. And now I'm going to pass over to our second main presenter for the evening. If we can get the next slide up, and I'm passing it over to Nat.
Thank you, Fraz. Great to hear those numbers. Hello, everyone. I'm Natalia Phipps. I'm Head of Advocacy at the Carbon Literacy Project, and it's fantastic to have you all joining us today. wherever you are in the world. I can see all of the people contributing in the chat. So yeah, just so interesting to hear from people on such a global scale. So as we've heard, today is all about action all across the world. Thousands of people are being trained in carbon literacy all on the same day. It's just fantastic. So I'm here to help us continue on the tour with some of our most inspiring trainers and initiatives that are going on today. So we've got businesses, councils, schools and communities, and it's all happening in real time. So let's hear from some more of the people that are making it all possible. So our next stop is with trainer Michelle Miles, who's joining us from the Sustainable Wedding Alliance, where they've been training professionals from across the wedding industry. So Michelle, hi. When we say that carbon literacy is for everyone, from births, marriages, funerals, midwives, wedding planners and funeral directors, all life is here. And I think the work that you guys are doing at Sustainable Wedding Alliance is, a really nice piece to that puzzle. So I've heard you've been delivering training today at a beautiful events venue, as we can see there in Wiltshire. Looks beautiful. Can you tell us a bit about how your training's gone today?
Yeah, we've had a fantastic training today. So today we are at a venue called Siren Court. It's a wedding venue right in the heart of Salisbury Plain, a really rural community. We've been training both their venue staff here. We've been training local florists and growers. We've been training some industry leading professionals, as well as some of our new team members that have joined us today and have gone through the carbon literacy training on this very special day, a perfect day for some of them to come and get their certificate, even though they've been around us and get involved in carbon literacy in the background for some time.
Wow, I love that. It's such like a diverse range of people. And, the wedding industry, it's not one that you'd usually associate with climate action. I suppose what's the reaction been when you've introduced carbon literacy into that space?
So we're really proud. We developed the carbon literacy for wedding professionals in April 2023, and we have delivered 27 different group sessions, whether that is in person or virtual. So in total, we've trained over 270 people on this particular course. What we're really proud of is that the course really brings together all parts of the industry, everybody from sole trade celebrants that are working as individuals in micro businesses, all the way up to large venue groups that are employing maybe 600 people across our industry. So it really does bring together a cross section of people, showcasing that climate is a conversation that should be being had at every level of an organisation, and everybody should have the same base level knowledge, and everybody has the same voice when it comes to climate. And it's been really important to us to hear people's actions, particularly around how they want to influence some of those stakeholders, whether that is their supply chain or whether that is the couples, and even down to the guests that even attend weddings in the UK. We're really lucky that we have such an amazing industry that is celebrating love and legacy. And it's really inspiring to be surrounded by people that want those legacies to be a positive environmental legacy.
Wow, yeah, absolutely love that. I think there's a concept that I kind of come back to a lot, which is your carbon footprint is obviously the impact of, your direct actions, but you have a carbon handprint as well. And that's how much you can influence and bring other people along on that journey. And I think your sector really has that, ability to have a really big carbon handprint. And what you were saying there about training so many different diverse voices, within the course, that must be a bit of a challenge as well. How do you tailor the training so that you can you said from florists, photographers, celebrants, and just make sure that everyone's kind of getting that knowledge base that they need?
Yeah, we really simply, at the very beginning, we spend time talking to everybody that's attending the course and asking them what they want to get out of the course. So this is a course that has been developed specifically for our industry. We use our own terminology. We make sure that it is broad, but actually we tailor every single delivery to the people that are in the room, the people that are online, so that we can make sure that if somebody is coming to this with absolutely no knowledge, they get just as much out of it as somebody that might be coming to it that is from a B Corp organisation that has its own biodiversity plan, because it's really important to us that we give as much value as possible and also understand what people's challenges are in the industry and connect them with others that can help them develop the solutions as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, that's really, really brilliant. It's that bringing everyone up to that same baseline knowledge, which I think is so essential. And I've heard that you're aiming to train more people this month than ever. We love an ambitious target here at Carbon Literacy. So what's like driven that momentum for you? And what are you kind of learning from running those sessions at scale?
Yeah, so it's really important to us. The wedding industry is relatively seasonal. So, we see the majority of the weddings in the UK taking place in the kind of May to September timeframe. And outside of that, businesses look to work on their business. They look to actually develop their business and move it forward. So what's been really important, and Clad is perfectly timed for this, is actually we really get people to look inwards on their business. So we really wanted November to be a month of action, a month of education, so that then we're going into the next few months where we have time to work on those businesses, time to put these actions into place, but really embed them across the teams, so that when we then launch into next year's wedding season, these things are already embedded, they're already in place, and the teams that are involved in those weddings have had plenty of time to make sure that actually they can expand on the impact that they hopefully start to put in place over the next couple of months.
Wow, fantastic. Yeah, it's so interesting to learn about these like cyclical sectors, and yeah, just the kind of like ebb and flow to the year and how you can really use that to your advantage. Michelle, thank you so much for taking the time to come on and talk to us all today. And yeah, it's just so brilliant to see carbon literacy being brought into such a creative and influential industry. So all the best with the rest of your training.
Thank you.
Okay, brilliant. So next up, we're heading north to Scotland to hear from Lana Murdochie at Keep Scotland Beautiful, where staff from Scottish Power have been diving into how they can embed carbon literacy into their world. So Lana, great to see you. Starting off, we've been working in partnership for a number of years now, the Carbon Literacy Project and Keep Scotland Beautiful. You're one of our accredited carbon literacy training organisations doing fantastic work up in Scotland. You must be reaching some serious figures now of people trained being such veterans in the game. Am I right in thinking that?
You are completely right. Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Lana Murdochie. So I work at Keep Scotland Beautiful. We're an environmental charity in Scotland. We are we're over 6,000 people now that we've trained across Scotland, across the UK. We've been doing it since 2016. So we've been almost at it for a decade now. And yeah, we've developed over 10 sectors courses. Within that, there's 38 accredited courses. So we've really managed to create a lot of really specific courses for lots of different audiences and hundreds of organisations. So it's been quite a journey. And it's been, yeah, very exciting, to be honest.
Yeah, wow, just yeah, so inspiring, such like breadth as well as depth there. And I suppose the name really is on the tin with Keep Scotland Beautiful. But Scotland's, got such strong climate ambition. I suppose, how does KSB's like work fit into that wider national picture?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we are a litter and waste charity primarily, and we work with Scottish Government to deliver kind of data sets to try and reduce consumption of certain materials and products. We do campaigns to do with like reducing litter and litter picks and stuff like that. But the carbon literacy has really gone hand in hand with a lot of the work we do, because we work with communities, we work with businesses, we work with government, and that's kind of like supplemented all the work that we do. We've developed a lot of courses based on, we're kind of out talking to people quite a lot. And so we hear a lot of the needs of people and the challenges. And so we've been able to adapt a lot of courses to actually suit those needs and those wants. So yeah, we're adding to not only we're trying to reduce the litter crisis, but also the climate crisis and how they're kind of intersected in loads of different ways. So yes.
Amazing. Yeah, that's great. It's not just a climate crisis, it's a biodiversity crisis and all the other things as well. So yeah, there's really that full picture. And you're training Scottish Power today as part of Carbon Literacy Action Day. How are participants responding, that kind of linking everyday work in areas like procurement or project design with climate action? How's that been landing?
Yeah, they're renewables companies, so they're already very clued up. They're very knowledgeable. and which is really nice. The way it's worked is we get everyone together from all different parts of the business into one room. So we have like directors and heads of departments, managers with like graduates and engineers. And so it's an opportunity for them to kind of spread resources and share tips and basically practices that have worked for other projects that they've done. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel every time. There's simple solutions that can be applied across the business, and it's just about sharing that resource. So yeah, we're very keen on supporting discussion and how to kind of share those experiences. And it went well, it went great today.
Amazing. Yeah, I suppose like what's like maybe one of the most surprising or maybe rewarding things for you as a trainer from the trainer perspective in those sessions?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of light bulb moments that happen, and you can see people just wanting to ask more questions, wanting to have more discussion. I have had people stay behind for like half an hour after the session's officially finished, and like for me that is the main thing. Is these are the Carbon literally provides the space to just have the discussions that you might not be able to have in day-to-day life. I've also had people kind of come up to me and want to change the job that they do and completely change sector because of carbon literacy. And so, you know, what carbon literacy does do is it allows them to do that. So it's yeah, I mean, that's for me as a trainer is so rewarding to see people get so excited.
Yeah, I suppose like careers advice isn't kind of on the job description normally for a carbon literacy trainer, but that's great to hear that you're inspiring people to the level that they're like, you know, maybe there is another world for me out there that's kind of really contributing and acting. So yeah, fantastic. Oh, well, I could sit here and talk to you all day, Lana, but we don't have enough times. But thanks so much for taking the time to speak to us all, and all the best for the rest of your training with KSB and Scottish Power.
Thank you so much. Nice to see you all.
Great. So finally, we're going to speak to Linda Foley, who's been delivering training in schools and communities on behalf of Manchester City Council today. Before we get into that, Linda, would you like to introduce yourself and tell the audience about the many hats that you wear in the world of carbon literacy?
Yeah, I've got a bit of a confusing banner on here. So I'm a councillor with Manchester City Council. My background is education. And I also work part-time as an advocate for localities and education for the Carbon Literacy Project. So, but as a trainer within Manchester, I volunteer my training and I love it. And I love working with the Carbon Literacy Project, but I love training the best. I'll be really honest. It's amazing. Lana, I am in awe of you. 6,000. But now the competition is on. I'm just going to make this really clear to you now, okay? Manchester is going to up your 6,000, okay? So there's a battle now between Manchester and Scotland to get those young people trained up. So absolutely wonderful. So sorry, Natalia. Yeah, so wear different hats. My background is in about 2018, I decided in my professional executive leadership course that what I wanted to do was to bring climate education and climate action into education policy. And there was nothing that existed at that time to do that. And I went to an NEU conference in London on schools and climate action. And while I was there and describing what I wanted to do, one of the other participants, Joe Brindle, said, you need to do carbon literacy training. Great. Where do I do that? Back in Manchester. So I did my carbon literacy training with Great Places, Andy Wilson. Oh my God, I loved it. And I felt at the end of the day, this is it. This is what I've been looking for. This is what we need to get into schools.
There's something more here. Yeah, absolutely.
There's something more here. And so this year, I was very privileged to work with the Carbon Literacy team and my colleague, Rebecca Stacey, who's the schools coordinator. She developed the brilliant carbon literacy toolkit for school adults working in schools, not just staff, governors as well. And I had the privilege to co-train with her and a colleague from Manchester City Council and Stockport Council to deliver a pilot in Manchester, a pilot in Stockport, a pilot in Doncaster. What they all have in common was they were all early adopters of the localities project. And the school toolkit and the Carbon Literate Educators Award is a brilliant example of that connect, collaborate, and cascade, because we did the pilot and several people there were governors, but they were also people who worked for community groups or charities or businesses. And so by doing it for staff and governors, we've already begun to reach out to other members of the community. So that's how I got involved, and it's been very exciting. And since I became a councillor, Manchester City Council has gone from the first silver carbon literate organisation, which is a local authority in the world, and this year they got gold, the first carbon literate organisation, which is a local authority to get gold. So they have trained, Lana, I hope you're still listening. So Manchester City Council have trained over 4,000 staff.
That's brilliant, Linda. And it's such a great overview of the incredible catalytic work that's going on with a number of organisations and players. I'm going to bring us back to the Action Day, because we could talk about all the amazing things, but let's really zero in on the amazing work that you're doing today.
What's happened over the Carbon Literacy Action Days? So we have delivered 20 staff within the Prospero Trust, which is for secondary schools, and 6 special schools. Already that has been catalytic. An interesting fact, a lot of the geography teachers were saying, oh, do we need to do carbon literacy? We know all the science knowledge anyway. They did the training and they said, oh, right, now we get it. It's not about the scientific knowledge. It's about how we influence others and mobilize change across the whole of our society. And so I've been invited next week to go and train the geography teachers across the whole trust. And I'm co-training with Matthew Scott, who was on the pilot in Manchester on the 22nd of April. So as I talk through this now, I'm going to be really quick, but the ripple effect is amazing. So we also trained, that was 20 staff at that event. We also had a training event for 12 staff at the Friends Meeting House, which is next to the Town Hall in Manchester. We had a training for 30 students at Barlow. Barlow, by the way, guys, is the first Carbon Literate Educator Award school in the world, in the universe, in the whole solar system. And they are so proud of that. We then did Manchester Museum, which, by the way, was the first carbon literate museum in the world. We had a session there. Again, we had 15 people. Some of those people were from So the City. And again, Kieran McGlasson, So the City, is also a governor. He was on the pilot on the 22nd of April. We then trained 10 students at MEA, another Prosperity Trust school. And also yesterday, we trained Disbury Good Neighbours, we trained 10 people. And this is interesting. Jamie Richardson works in schools. He's also the manager of a charity that's a befriending charity. But at that meeting yesterday, we had a parent, we had staff from the charity. We also had somebody from the Francis House Hospice who was there. Wow. Yeah, absolutely amazing. So we've had this amazing range, I reckon, co-training with my colleague from Manchester City Council, Ash Farah. We had loads of the Manchester Community Pot funding, which was funded by Manchester City Council, Patagonia. So we only managed to do all of this catalytic work because we connected, we collaborated, and we cascaded. But there's one more thing. So we did the staff training. There were 2 staff from Brighter Beginnings Nurseries. We are now going to co-train with them. They've got 9 nurseries across Manchester and Oldham. But listen to this. They train 300 apprentices from across the country. They want all 300 apprentices to have carbon literacy training, because Alison, who's in charge, said that when she's looked through their assessments, the gap is around sustainability. So we were the piece of the jigsaw that was missing. So really, really exciting already.
There we go.
And it's going to help us get to that 40,000 next year in Manchester, guys.
No, That's amazing, Linda. Honestly, so inspiring just to hear about all the different projects that you've been, initiating during CLAD. I think it's a really great example of what the campaign can bring and really have that springboard to start lighting fires in lots of different places. So the final thing I'm going to ask you, and only in a couple of sentences because we're very short on time, but is what would you say to other trainers or organisations thinking of getting involved in next year's Carbon Literacy Action Day?
It's an absolutely brilliant launch pad for other events that will happen throughout the year. This is a way of everybody feeling part of something bigger, the biggest climate education and climate action event in the whole world.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Linda, for joining us today and for all of your hard work over the course of the week. And we just wanted to say a massive thank you to all of our trainers who've participated in CLAD. You're the ones that are taking the principles of carbon literacy and turning them into action, conversation by conversation, classroom by classroom, organisation by organisation. Today simply wouldn't happen if it wasn't for you. So a massive thank you from everyone here at the project. So that's it from me for now. So I'm going to pass back to Phil now to see if there's any thoughts or questions from the chat to share, because I could see there's been lots of activity. So Phil, anything you kind of want to report
I just
on?
thanks. I say thank you. You've made it really difficult, everyone, because you've been so generous with the stories that you've been sharing. I'm going to try to scoot through. Just think about the range of organizations that have contributed. Just this is in the chat, so it's just a slice of what's been going on with Carbon Literacy Action Day. The UK Insolvency Service, and Sharon says that already she's got one of the senior execs signed up for something coming on afterwards. The training they've got planned afterwards. Twinkle are a preeminent supplier of schools materials. They're training their own people, did their first cascade. And again, the first session, and you can just see the cascade as that influences classroom materials, and Twinkle are huge in that. You might not have heard of Benneman. They're an SME in the southwest of the UK, but they're specialists in greening agriculture, particularly greening agricultural machinery. So you can really get that specific. Clark Wilmot law firm, they've been training. Big shout out to Jazz and Oxford Innovation Advice, who've trained 90% of their staff, including some during CLAD. In Ireland, hi Emma, the Health Service Executive Library staff that have got trained during CLAD. Nicole Koenig, talking about your training for German-speaking folk and how well that's gone. You're talking about the deep connection that's come from that. And as if planned, the German theme, Ants Nelson's been training people from BMW Financial Services. And as a result of that, their CEO, their UK CEO, is going to talk to all the staff. You can feel the cascades coming off from all of this. Transport for London, huge shout out to them. Their third year of contributing, being part of CLAD. They've gone big, many thousands of staff, and a fascinating pattern of starting at the top and working their way through the hierarchy there. Absolutely brilliant work. Probably no coincidence that the Welsh Transport Authority have taken up, have just certified their course as well. And talking of Wales, as if planned, Canal Cymru, who are also very much like Keep Scotland Beautiful, long-time partners. They've, is that right? 354 organizations trained in their time, 4,004 actions. If I was reading what you were saying there, quite staggering in terms of what's going on there. Special shout. If you didn't get this from Linda, you certainly get this. A special mention to Emma Norton, who's the lead trainer for the City Council, and as well as training their own and all those stakeholders, completely opening their doors. So in the course of the last year, some virtual training, they opened the doors to some local government people in Lagos. And we're hoping to repeat that for some people from Stockholm City Council. That's under discussion. So an extraordinary range of things happening. I think I've captured most of what's been going on, but we always say that carbon literacy needs to be for everyone. And in condensing things into this event, while COP30 is going on, while they talk, we act. Um, we just capture this extraordinary range of application and enthusiasm. You've heard the stories, but I think what's been happening here as well is you're hearing the passion, the energy, the drive behind what we're doing and what comes out of the delivery of carbon literacy. That's unbeatable, isn't it? So thank you to everyone that's participated in this and obviously in carbon literacy beyond. That I think will do for my roundup. I'm going to hand back to Grace for a final roundup of numbers and a little insight into what's been going on elsewhere.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Phil. And also a massive thank you to all of our guest speakers and everyone who has been involved in the chat. I've been working on this year's CLAD for about the last 11 months, so it really is quite surreal, but also amazing to see everyone come together and just seeing carbon literacy being cascaded and just knowing that the impact of that will just sort of continue to last for much longer than today. So yeah, massive, massive thank you to everyone for their time. Can I have the next slide, please? Okay, fab. Thank you, Razvan. So for our last highlight, this picture is from Horsham District Council. They've trained 5 of their community leaders, and some other initiatives that we've had confirmed this week include Loughborough University, who have trained 80 people. Central Bedfordshire Council have trained another 80 people, including community members and elected members. I also wanted to give a shout out to Yellow Global. They trained 7 individuals, and this is the first time that the Netherlands has participated in CLAD, so that's incredibly exciting to see to see CLAD reach new countries. Zeroverse have trained 20 research professionals. I know they have a really international audience as well. We've been sent a couple of testimonials from the learners, and yeah, it's just great to see the impact of carbon literacy for the learners. London Transport Museum have trained another 20. Lighthouse Sustainability have trained 47 people. The list is just ongoing. There's so many people who have taken part in CLAD this week. I know we've got to around 1,300 learners confirmed, which is good. Our certification team, however, are going to be working incredibly hard because I know that's only around half of the learners that will be certified over CLAD 2025. So yeah, incredibly exciting. And we'll be in touch with all organisations and trainers to let them know the final numbers in December. We'll also be shouting about them on our social media accounts, so do keep an eye on them and follow us if you don't already. And yeah, I just really want to say a massive thank you to all of our CLAD participants. It's been such a privilege to work on the campaign, and just seeing everyone come together today makes it so special. But I'll pass back to Dave now.
Thanks very much, Grace. So it falls to me to try and bring all of this together and bring it to a close. And what a slalom of inspiration and action and fantastic stuff going on all around the world. So first of all, I want to say a few thanks to particular people who've been working away to make all of this happen for all of us. I want to say a particular thanks to Grace and Fraz, who you've all seen on the broadcast this evening. But as Grace has, I was going to say alluded to, but actually stated that she's been working on this for 11 months. Fraz has been working alongside Grace to coordinate the whole of CLAD. And I'm sure you'll appreciate it's quite a significant undertaking. So thank you very much, guys. It's been a fantastic job. Annabelle, our events coordinator, has been very involved in preparing for this event. Our comms team have been supporting CLAD throughout the year, not just with the amazing visuals that you've seen as part of the presentations today, which we need to thank Sanya for in particular, but for all of the communications and newsletters and mailers that you've got relating to CLAD throughout the year and the resources to help support your efforts. To Deepika in the IT team, who's been working with the CLAD team behind the scenes, and to our IT team who've been working on this, Razvan, who's been dutifully changing all of the slides, and Fiona, who's been operating the live stream that's running in parallel with this, and all the tech behind the scenes. So thank you very much, guys. Hopefully you've been interested and inspired by what you've seen today and your involvement in carbon literacy so far. So I want to share two opportunities to do further things with us and to support the growth of carbon literacy. So if we can have the next slide, please, Razvan. Between the 2nd of December and the 9th of September, we're having a festive fundraiser. We haven't released all of the details of exactly what this is going to be yet, but it will be a match funding fundraiser where any funds that you can raise and donate to us as a charity get matched by an external donor. So we're going to be releasing all the details of how this will work and how to engage with it very shortly. If you'd like to find out more about this, want to make sure you get the details. If you want to use a portable device, you can use that QR code that's on the screen at the moment, using your phone to sign up to our mailing list to make sure you get our regular newsletter, and there will definitely be details coming out shortly in that to tell you how to get involved. Or there will be a link posted in chat that you can click directly and open in another tab that again enables you to sign up for our newsletter, our mailing list for it. If you haven't already done so, to make sure you get those details. But please keep your eyes peeled for that particular opportunity, because all of the funds that we raise through the festive fundraiser is going to be help support our education work to keep the schools toolkit free, which is we have to work on it, and we have to update it, and we have to fund it, and we have to roll it out. So we're specifically fundraising to make sure we can continue to do that and still give it away to schools without needing to charge. But the second thing you might want to get involved in, if we have the next slide, is hopefully if you've already been involved, you know all about CLAD already. If you've joined this trying to find out more and have found out a bit more and been inspired, you can sign up for CLAD 2026. So we're starting the preparation for next year today, immediately. So once again, you can use that QR code on screen if you want to use a portable device, or you can follow the link that will be posted in the chat for CLAD 2026. You're not committing to anything. You don't have to spend anything to do this. It just gives you a link through so you can register interest and talk a little bit about what you might be interested in doing, as we're already starting the preparations for next year. So it kind of falls to me to bring everything to a close. So I need to say another couple of thank yous. One is to all our contributors today who you've seen speaking, talking about what they're doing. Firstly, for all the fantastic work they're doing, which would be worthy of thanks in any case, but also for being willing to turn up to this event and be grilled by Phil and Natalia. As you'll know, it can be quite daunting to do an event like this and do it live and to be interviewed. But what was interesting was everybody that we approached and asked was really keen to do it, to share their joy in the work that they'd done and the excitement that they felt about the work they'd done, the impact it had had, and share it with others. And that really speaks back to the theme of today about connecting and collaborating. And lastly, I'd like to say thank you to you for taking part in today's webinar, for investing your time to watch this. I know many of you are very active in the world of carbon literacy already. We said right at the beginning, this was all about connecting, it was all about collaborating, and it was all about cascading. And I said at the very beginning, there are days when all of us feel a little bit lonely and it feels like we're fighting headwinds. And I hope that we have proven this evening that when we have those feelings, it's okay to have them, because deep down we know we're not alone. There's loads of us out there. There's more of us than there are of them. We are all working towards the same thing: a safer, healthier planet, better opportunities for people, and actually directly addressing and dealing with climate change. So the last thanks is thank you to you for attending today and for all the fantastic work you do, and good luck in all you do for the next 12 months and beyond. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.